Back, a lot going on West End these days involving Vanderbilt athletics, and who better to talk about that? Who better to talk about that than our good friend from the Tennessean who covers Vanderbilt athletics, Adam Sparks. Adam, good evening, buddy. How are you?
Hey, we're good. How's it going?
Man, it's great to hear from you. Did you fill out your bracket yet? Who do you got going all the way?
I haven't filled out the whole bracket, but I picked the Final Four. I think I had Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan State, and I want to say Oklahoma. I'm wondering maybe if I shouldn't have done Kentucky now, but
yeah,
to pick somebody in the SEC.
Well, it's so funny, Adam, because I was talking about this earlier in the show, and people get excited for the tournament for many reasons. Guys like us who follow and watch college basketball, it's a great time of year. But so many people say, "Oh, the upsets! Oh, the Cinderellas!" Where are the upsets? Where are the Cinderellas? Look at the teams that are probably going to win this thing. I'm saying it's going to be one of three teams, either Kansas, North Carolina, or I think Kentucky, because I think they're red hot going in. So usually towards the end of the tournament, the Blue Bloods kind of show up, and the first couple of days are cool because you might get an upset or two. But at the end of the day, the teams that we know are usually in the hunt.
Yeah, I enjoy the upsets more than anything in the first two rounds. But it's almost like we get fooled every year because every year we see those first couple of rounds, and no matter how many 14 seeds win, they're going to be put out in the next round or the next. None of them. I mean, I know we've had a couple of George Masons and those types, but they're not going to win the title. So eventually we have to give up on it. But the first 2 days is always my favorite.
No question. All right, let's get into it. Vanderbilt losing in Dayton last night to Wichita State. Poor shooting night for the Commodores, only 30%. Damian Jones did not appear to show up really in this game. A close game for a while, but poor shooting and some key players not stepping up seemed to be the key in this loss for Vandy.
Yeah, if you had to categorize all the ways you can judge offense, they hit a low point in just about all of them. Field goal percentage was the lowest of the year. 3-point percentage lowest of the year. 50 points scored was their lowest. They went, I think, the end of the game they allowed Wichita State to go on a 20-2 run. The one that jumps out to me among all of them is the fact that there wasn't a single starter that scored in double figures. So it wasn't like, well, there were 2 or 3 guys that were giving us good games, but our stars weren't. It was pretty much everybody. I mean, nobody in the starting lineup played well. Matthew Fisher-Davis wasn't making threes. Wade Baldwin was frustrated the whole night. He was up against a couple of really good guards in Wichita State. And Damian Jones is the obvious one because, I mean, that's the guy you have to get at least somewhere close to a double-double if you're going to win a game like that. And he got in foul trouble immediately, and that's happened to him all year. Once you see him in foul trouble, you feel like Vandy's chances of winning drop significantly.
Yeah, Adam, it kind of, I don't know, it seems like it's a microcosm of the season for Vanderbilt. I mean, just an up and down year for Kevin Stallings' crew. They start the season preseason ranked in the top 25. They go up to Alaska and play, I believe it was Kansas, very tough in the championship game, and you're thinking they're going to get on a roll. They struggle coming out of the gates in the SEC. They catch fire towards the middle to the end of the regular season. Looks like they're going to be one of the teams to beat in the SEC tournament. They bow out in their first game to Tennessee. I mean, if you could kind of sum up this season for Vanderbilt men's basketball, how would you describe it?
Yeah, it never came together. And last night Kevin Stallings was talking about the fact that he thought everything was lost in terms of team chemistry when Luke Cornett went down. He tore his MCL in mid-December, was out for about a month, and when he came back, they ended up having a stretch run there towards the end where they got hot, but it never quite came back together like they wanted. I don't know if it would have gone that way if Luke had stayed healthy or not, but I had said most of the season that I thought, and I think a lot of people thought that, well, Vandy's having an up and down year, but if they just get in the NCAA tournament, They could make a run because they're that talented of a team. I think maybe a lot of us were fooled because last night it looked kind of like what the season would say would happen, and it would be, it's a big game, this is when they need it. You can't really count on them having that type of game on that type of stage. I mean, Wichita State is the opposite. Wichita State, this is their 5th straight NCAA tournament. They went to the Sweet 16 last year. They went to the Final Four about 3 or 4 years ago. And so they're a team, when they get into the tournament, they make a run. Vanderbilt's been the opposite. This is the last 5 NCAA tournament trips. They've lost their opener 4 of those times, and it's become enough of a trend that it kind of takes away from the fact that they're making the tournament. I mean, that's a goal to make the tournament, but there's a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth because they don't win the first one, and that's why Kevin Stallings, people think, may be on the hot seat now.
I'm glad you brought that up. We're talking with Adam Sparks from the Tennessean, who covers Vanderbilt athletics. Yeah, there is a lot of talk about Kevin Stallings, and it's been that way pretty much the entire season, Adam, and I'm just... one thing that struck me last week at the SEC tournament, you were there, we were talking to Coach Stallings the day before the Tennessee game when he said, I don't know what my team's mindset is right now, and I've stopped caring. My flags kind of go up when I hear a coach saying that, because to me it's the coach's job to instill that mindset and to get his team to play as well as they can each and every night. And they're not going to win every game, but you want that effort out there every night. You've covered the team all year. You've been to, pretty much every game, every practice. Do you sense, or did you sense, a disconnect between Stallings and his players this season?
Yeah, well, I think certain ones. I think him and Wade Baldwin were, I don't know if at odds is the right phrase, but they weren't quite on the same page, I'd say, in the second half of the season. They both put on a good face. I think they both tried to work through it, but something was amiss, I think, for the second half of the season. I know there were questions as Wade Baldwin's draft stock kind of rose all the way up to maybe an early first-round pick. That may be a stretch, I'm not sure. But, there was a sense with Kevin Stallings that maybe Wade was trying too hard. He was distracted. I think in a different part of the season, he felt maybe that was the same with Damian Jones, where you had guys that are wanting to do too much. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be in the team concept. And, they got bogged down with some of the short little stints of losing streaks and bad losses, and it never came together. I think what Kevin was really alluding to is the same thing that he talked about on Selection Sunday, and it was just an overall frustration with the season that things couldn't be turned in a direction and go that way for long. With the up and down of the record of winning a couple, then losing a couple, and back and forth, and then he had the frustration of the selection show and not knowing whether they're in or not, and blaming the media for him buying into the bracketology that Vandy was out. It's
always our fault, isn't it, Adam?
Say again?
It's always our fault in the media, isn't it?
That's right. Don't listen to us. Right, exactly. There was just so many, I don't know if enemies is the word, but there were just so many counters to this team this year, and they never quite got on the same page against any one thing. And you could tell it with Kevin at the end of the season. I think he was hopeful they could make a late run, but he looked exhausted, to be honest with you, and that was certainly the case last night.
All right, so where do you think we go from here? We all know David Williams is a very patient man, the athletic director over at Vanderbilt. He doesn't make snap decisions. He thinks things through. Kevin's been there a long time. Do you think Dr. Williams is considering at all making a change at head coach?
Well, I think he's certainly considering it. Now, whether he will or not, I'm not so sure. I mean, people have asked me for the last, especially the last 24 hours, what's the percentage chance? And I would say it's, 50-50 is an easy chance, an easy thing to say. I think it's probably a better chance that Kevin is back than he's gone. And I say that because, kind of what you said, anytime I've talked to David Williams, he's leaned more towards patience and more towards let's look at big picture. And, making the NCAA tournament seemed to save Kevin. I thought the fact that they lost and the way that they lost, it's more of a quick reaction of, well, things were good, now they're bad again. And I don't think David Williams sees it that way. I think David Williams, and I saw him last night right before the game, he sat a few seats down from me. I don't think he left Dayton Arena last night with his decision in mind. I don't think he left there and said, Kevin's coming back, or I don't think he left there and said, I'm going to fire Kevin. I think he's going to take some time to figure it out. And it may be just Kevin Stallings sitting down and saying, this is what went wrong, this is how I'm going to fix it. And if he makes his case that way, then maybe he's back.
Very interesting, Adam. I know you'll keep us on top of everything going on. We appreciate the time. Have a great night and enjoy the tournament.
All right, good deal. We'll see you.
All right, the great Adam Sparks from the Tennessean joining us here on SportsLine. Time for a break. When we come back, we'll talk about one of the Cinderella teams in this year's NCAA tournament, Austin Peay. They won 4 games in 4 days to win the OVC tournament. Now they're going to try to do the impossible, beat the #1 top seed in the tournament, Kansas. That game coming up tomorrow. We'll preview that game and a lot more next on SportsLine.